In today's video, I shall be talking about one of the most iconic superhero trilogies of all time, Iron Man. This trilogy started all the way back in 2008, in which also opened up the Marvel Cinematic Universe. However, the trilogy came to an end at the start of the MCU's Phase 2 with Iron Man 3, in which came out in the year 2013. So in the ranking video, I shall be ranking Iron Man 1 to 3 from worst to best, so let's get into the ranking. In at number 3, Iron Man 2. To me, I think Iron Man 2 was a good MCU movie and really entertaining and one of the funnier MCU movies in the franchise. Although I do think the movie lacked a really good antagonist and Whiplash really felt disappointing and failed to live up to the hype of what we all expect in terms of an Iron Man villain. However, I do think this is a solid movie and shows a different side to Tony as he's on a bit more of a wilder path than we saw in Iron Man, as he's on the verge of death and he's slowly dying with the element he's currently using in his chest. However, in a way, we see the struggles Tony goes through, and to be fair, this felt more of a villain than Whiplash actually did. Furthermore, I think that this movie felt like a gap-fill movie to build up to the Avengers movie and was a way of introducing the Black Widow, in which I felt was a good addition to the MCU. Although in hindsight, I do think this movie could have been a lot better and the villain could have been more of a threat to Tony, as you never felt Tony was going to be defeated or that his family were going to become a target in any way, shape or form like we've seen in the previous superhero movies of Marvel. If you want a more in-depth version of my opinion of this movie, click down the link in the description to hear my full thoughts on this movie. In at number 2 then, Iron Man 3. To me, I felt that Iron Man 3 showed us a completely different side to Tony, as we didn't see the fun-loving superhero that we did in the first two movies and in the Avengers movie. As this movie explores Tony's suffering with the PTSD of the events of New York covered in the Avengers movie, which really gets into his head about the safety of his family, which I thought really developed this character and made him a lot more interesting in terms of showing us a different side to Tony we didn't know existed. I also think that the villain Aldrich Killian posed a huge threat to Tony, and not only did he attack Tony's family but also his home and his friend Happy Hogan, in which hadn't happened before to Iron Man, and I think this movie shows us the downsides to becoming a superhero. Furthermore, this felt like a great and emotional movie in which just presented us with a new version of Tony to explore in the MCU and ended the trilogy in the best possible way. So let's move on. In at number 1, Iron Man. So I still think that this is one of the best MCU movies out of them all, and it's clearly the best Iron Man movie as this introduces a superhero like no other, and this just presents us with what to expect moving forward in the MCU, but also what to expect in the Iron Man trilogy. As this movie explores the iconic character, and Robert Downey Jr. is able to bring this character alive like no other, as he is funny, full of himself and big-headed like you wouldn't believe, but it comes off as he's clearly one of the funniest additions to the MCU. I think that the antagonist was brilliant, as Obadiah felt like a real threat to Tony, as he constantly tried to kill off Tony to be able to take the company into his own hands. When he sees that Tony isn't taking the business seriously and ups his game when Tony changes his mind in the company's vision of the company producing weapons, when he sees the harm it does to people and tries to put a stop to this, which I really liked. I think Obadiah was great. I think that he was also quite an entertaining villain, although I do think the movie is covered in controversy, as we see that Terrence, who plays Roddy in this movie, isn't used as Roddy again in the MCU and is replaced in Iron Man 2 by Don Cheadle, which marks the only appearance of Terrence in the franchise. I think this highlights more of an issue with the recruitment earlier on in the MCU franchise, as he wasn't the only actor to be replaced earlier on in the MCU. I think this movie is so iconic and just starts off the MCU like no other movie could. If you want to hear more of my opinion on this particular movie, head down in the description to check out my Iron Man movie review. To summarise, this is without a shadow of a doubt one of the best trilogies in the MCU and one of the most entertaining out of the whole MCU franchise. So let me know your rankings down in the comments down below, please, and check out my Iron Man 1 and 2 movie reviews down in the description to hear my full opinions on these two movies. Also, if you haven't already, hit that like button and also hit that subscribe button, please, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be alerted to all the new content that this channel creates, and I shall see you guys in the next one. Laters.